before starting business, we obviously assume the best case scenarios, right? But at the same time, there are also certain fears that you have in mind. What if that happens? What if that happens? There was a certain time when COVID happened, and our entire business became zero.
A big hello and welcome to my show Unbound. I'm your host Mamta. The only Indian snacking brand or startup with a scientific core team that has researched or put in 100,000 plus research hours behind it. This is the brand that was founded by the duo Shikhar Veer Singh and Nidhi Singh. And to reinvent the king of none other than India's snack, that is the samosa. Having sold over 50 million units, Samosa Singh today stands as one of the fastest growing fresh Indian online snacking brand. And it lives up to its anthem, India's snacking with Samosa Singh. And today I am in great luck as I am joined by the co-founder of Samosa Singh, Nidhi Singh. Hi Nidhi, welcome to my show Unbound. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Mamta. We're doing really well.
So, thinking big and trusting yourself to make it happen is your motto in life. Tell me about this journey. I mean, from biotech to Samosa Singh, please tell us all
Yeah.
about it.
See, it's been a very fascinating journey. I would say it's full of ups and downs. The other day, someone was asking me, Can we say that you had a fun journey?" I said, "You can call my journey anything but just fun. It's not just fun. I mean, having fun is maybe a small element of it, but I think it's more like a full adventurous roller coaster, having full of adrenaline. And sometimes we have fun, sometimes it's like, oh my god, when does this, the hustle really stops. But then I think throughout this journey, one thing that we have learned and evolved is that now starting to have more fun in the process. So it's been a good journey. As first time entrepreneurs, didn't know much about the business, didn't know really anything about setting up a business, being originally from north, moving to south, Bangalore being a very new city. So started doing all of it on our own. So it's been a journey full of ups and downs, lots of uncertainties, including COVID and few other scenarios. But yes, I think the only thing we knew and we were very clear from day one is what do we want to do, how to go about it. Then everything was something we learned on the way during the journey, and nothing something that we had learned or assumed or planned, because nothing goes as per the plan.
Absolutely. So, what makes you unbound, Nidhi? I mean, starting from, of course, really building up the snacking brand, food brand, that in itself is full of excitement. And food to India and Indian culture is so centric. So, how do you really unbound? Like when we have to unbound, we go for a samosa. What do you do for that?
See, actually, to be very honest, one thing that helps us unbound is actually being in the production setup where everything is being done. The aroma, the energy, the kind of hustle bustle that goes on in a factory is something that keeps you moving, because you really see so many things happening around you, and it kind of also takes you into your thoughts that from where did we start? How did we start from a very small kitchen where the first kitchen, Mamta, Shikhar and I couldn't even go inside the kitchen. So there was just like a small, uh, basically a standing point where we would just stand, because if we go inside, then literally there would be no place for the cooks to cook. So we would just be outside, and how we've moved from small kind of a kitchen setup to a little bigger setup and now to a factory setup, it gives us a real good feeling of being in the factory, being there. So that's why we operate out of a very simple, humble office setup. Where I'm sitting used to be a 1 BHK of the owner who owns the factory. I mean, who basically had that factory area. We asked him to move out of this, and my factory is just here, and we sit out of that because that's where I feel at home. And obviously, nothing better than interacting with the team, chilling with them. Like today, the weather calls for samosa, so our halwai, we've asked him to have a special celebration where he's making homemade jalebis as well.
Oh,
So samosa
wow.
and jalebi for this weather is perfect. So these are small, small unbounding things that we do. And of
Awesome.
course, whenever there's time, we do take out some time to even unbound from office work, because you need some rest in between for your mind to actually get some new ideas. So we keep doing that also in between, taking small breaks, cherishing the moments. Sometimes you don't have the luxury of a full-fledged vacation. So
Yeah.
whatever time we get in between, we try to leverage and make the most of it.
Super. So tell me some about any life transforming moment, a moment where when you walked into that moment and before and after that moment you were not the same, Nidhi. Just tell me about any such incident, any such life transforming eureka moment maybe.
See, there have been a lot. I mean, today, if it's not a one moment, there has been like certain transforming things. I think my life or my persona before Samosa Singh, when I was working in a corporate, versus when Shikhar quit the job and he told me that we are on our own. Basically, I've left the job and now we need to do. Basically, we are now going to start with just the idea. From then on, it's a very different life. It was a very different moment, but I think that has been a slow transition that we've learned. But I think one big hit which completely changed me or everything was before starting business, we obviously assume the best case scenarios, right? But at the same time, there are also certain fears that you have in mind. What if that happens? What if that happens? There was a certain time when COVID happened, and our entire business became zero. Overnight we were forced to shut. We had done some very heavy investments in our business, like opening up a real nice flagship store at airport, which was again forced to be shut overnight. So these were some of the real, I mean, I would say, we wouldn't even if we think about such things prior to start business, we would literally shudder. We wouldn't even do that. It was that dreading. But whatever your worst fears are before starting a business, that what if we don't have money? What if we don't have clients? What if everything gets shut? What if our money goes in for a loss? What if people don't trust us? Basically, everything happened all of it together during COVID when our entire business became
Yeah.
zero. And at that point in time, it was a very tough phase. But to be honest, when that happened, it didn't happen slowly. It happened overnight for us because my entire business pre COVID was all in multiplexes, airlines, and all these things. And the entire business was zero during COVID, the first day itself when Bharat Bandh was announced. So literally, we didn't even have time to kind of, gauge it or slowly take it. It literally was just like a slap on our face. And so it transformed us to such an extent that once we came out of it, we obviously worked very hard. We completely pivoted the business model. I think Shikhar and I were the strongest as a team at that point in time, didn't caring about anything else except what we want to do and just going for it. It not only changed our rapport, our relationship, it obviously strengthened it more. Much beyond that, it kind of now has brought us to that level that nothing fears us anymore. We are like, we have already, overcome the bankruptcy, we have overcome the zero business. What worse can happen? We are kind of well ready to it. So
Wow.
because of that, we've been able to take some bold moves, and literally, I am now more, I'm very different. I'm now more calm. I kind of know what to expect. I don't have very unrealistic expectations. I take it slowly. And there have been multiple because as a person, what I was pre entrepreneur versus what I'm now, they are two very different,
Oh,
Nidhi.
wow. So often when I speak to entrepreneurs and they talk about their biggest fears and challenges and the fear of failure being, on
It
the
is.
top of
It
it, or
is.
fear of
It is.
judgment being on the top of it. You seem to have really treaded them all along and just, overcome
No
and
option, right? We had no option. I mean, there were cases where people would tell us, "Oh, why do you fear so much? It's not just happening with you; it's happening with everybody in the
everybody.
world."
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. Somehow, I'm grateful that we didn't take it as an excuse. We didn't even take a moment of kind of acceptance that yeah, it's happening with everybody. We just couldn't accept it because there were so many things at stake to kind of let it be. So we continued on our journey of making it happen.
Wow, more power to you on that one. In that case, some of your internal conflicts maybe ऐसा भी तो हुआ होगा that you may have come to a point and said कि हाँ बंद कर सकते हैं बिजनेस अब वी गॉट टू कॉल इट क्विट्स इसके आगे क्या करेंगे या नहीं करना है या अब और कितने लोन के साथ काम आगे करेंगे सो वो जो इंटरनल डिलेमास कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स होते हैं डिड यू like now do you have a mechanism to go past them or have you devised one how is it now for you
See, we actually never had this thought of business नहीं करना या business बंद कर देना. ये thought आता था पहले pre-COVID. I mean pre-starting the business itself when I was not too keen on literally jumping into it. Because Shikhar was so certain of starting Samosa Singh, I knew that the idea is good. But मुझे ये भी पता था कि starting a business is not easy. You may assume things to change. You may assume things to be difficult, but then you never realize that things become difficult to an extent that even if you have to go on some vacation, there have been certain family instances, some real unfortunate instances where I needed to be there with the family, but I couldn't go because I couldn't afford a air ticket, especially because that money had to go in the business or it was already invested somewhere. So where literally you had to kind of save on every small thing. To buy a pair of jeans, I had to literally wait or think, when initially when we were just two of us earning, we wouldn't really have to kind of think about anything before spending. So these things seem you kind of, before you start the business, you assume हाँ ठीक है कर लेंगे. But when that thing happens, when the
Yeah,
reality comes in, it is little difficult to let go that part or do that part.
I'm
There have
sure.
been some very tough times. I mean, we had to, a lot of people tell us you are lucky, you have family support. I mean, yes, I'm very lucky, I'm blessed, I have a beautiful family to support us, but at the same time this business is something that Shikhar and I had built from scratch. It's good that we don't have liabilities as such, for family and all, but then at the same time we had other liabilities to take care. I think everybody, you never have too much to be actually just starting a business. You really need to
True.
literally take a part of yourself and then build it together.
So, have there been people who have played a role of a role model?
So, in fact, the other day only Shikhar and I were talking about this topic, that everybody, sometimes people ask who's our role model. We don't have one, to be really honest. There are, when things get tough, really, you don't have time to open up a book and read about someone and feel good about it, because then at that point in time we tend to draw inspiration from everyone around us. There have been
Yeah.
tough times for everyone and we just keep evolving through it. There are a lot of internal conflicts that happen. It's not easy to have a couple as a business thing. It's one of the most challenging, or the negative aspect for this kind of a combination is that there's no downtime or there's no cutoff time. Right now, had it just been one person into the business, the other one, once they get home, they literally have that switch off mechanism. For us, no, because when it's
Yeah.
in both of us. Whatever happened is through both of us. So literally we are taking our work with us everywhere. So that cutoff thing was very tough. So we would try to get inspiration from everyone who's be like other couples of how they would unwind, kind of talk to them, listen to them. And I think the most comforting thing was that it's not just with us that's happening. Anybody who's kind of taken an offbeat track or something that they've started from the very beginning, it does take some time for it to settle.
Yeah, but that's an
So
interesting thing that you say that that you do and you have to, or you just get to take back your work back home. Now, in a case like that, how has your understanding as a couple and couple entrepreneur, like has that viewpoint towards each other really changed? Has your stance or understanding has softened?
yeah, it's very different than what we used to be. So we've been knowing each other for almost 2 decades now. I mean, our association goes back long back. So yeah, almost 20, 19, 20 years we've been knowing each other. So when we got married, when things were, it was a different interaction. When I would be at work, he would be at work. We would meet only in the evenings, and we would kind of unwind together. Maybe go to a gym, go for a walk, and something like this. An easy way, watch a movie. Nice weekends, and weekends would be like good Saturday, Sundays. You know, 2 days and nicely doing everything. And the it was different. Then when Samosa Singh started, my god, lots of fights started, lots of fightings, because and it would be frustration, right? First time entrepreneurs didn't know much about the business.
Yeah.
You are any which way struggling with daily day-to-day tasks, and then there are other delays and other frustrations that are arising by third person, some vendor, it could be some business associate, it could be some team member, it could be anything, not driven by us but through the third person. And literally both of us are in the same furnace, right? How would we take it out? So especially in my case, I would sometimes tend to kind of vent it out on him, but that was very unfair of me, right? Because he's also been into it. So at
Do you
times he
really
would
want
have
me to keep this part, Nidhi?
No, I mean, we really would have some nasty, uh, debates, discussions, some fights, whatnot. But then we couldn't even fight because if we fought, who's going to work, right? So business gets impacted. So there was a certain point in time, I mean, that was very initially on when we said, let's do one thing, let's set up the business, kind of hold on to the fights for good 1 month, and then later on we'll fight. Okay, let's just finish the work first. I mean, that was versus required because we both have very different skill sets, so it's not that I can do something where I don't need him or
Yeah.
he could do something where he don't need me. And then we did that. And obviously you can't keep on to a fight, eventually when you come to office, when you're working, you kind of tend to forget about it.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, my personal opinion, fighting is important. It definitely strengthens the relationship. In our case, it did. There was a lot of mutual respect that has grown over the years because we've seen how each other supported each other and how each one of us is capable, taking the decisions and being able to support each other. So I think now we are to a level that we've always together. So we kind of have another level of understanding where I know what he wants to speak or what he's looking at, and etc. etc. But fighting is also a part of coexistence, and I think we are very much balancing it really well, of not doing it in a nasty way but having it a healthy conversation or a healthy discussion or a debate.
Wow. So you still have fights, but you fight it out in a more matured way. Then we can say
Yes,
that.
yes.
All
I mean,
right.
who doesn't fight, right? I mean,
That's
it's a part of evolution. It's something that you evolve and grow together with.
beautiful. So what about movies, travels, interactions, shows? Any of these influence you, your decision making?
Decision making, no, but yes, we keep drawing inspiration. Movies is something that has helped us a lot in our journey. Reason being that sometimes you need a intentional cutoff in your brain. That yes, now you really need to take rest, and getting ourselves into a nice multiplex, watching a nice movie, unwinding together. It's literally a kind of a mechanism that has worked really well for us. So we both of us watch a lot of movies actually, and we have our good collection of movies where we see some autobiographies, where we see some inspirational movies, where we see some other things. It's nice. I mean, movies are something we watch very frequently. We enjoy it also together. There also we have come on to a point because at the time when we were dating, I would just hate action movies. I wouldn't even see any action movies, and he's a hardcore action movie fan. His kind of movies is hardcore action. So we have brought into a level that even now I start enjoying action movies. It's something I really enjoy now. So I think that's something, again, getting to a common point that
Yeah.
eventually we have learned and evolved.
And is
But
there
yeah,
anything that he
movies.
has learned from you? Is there some acquired taste that he has taken from you?
Oh, I'm sure, of course. I think eating sweets. He
Okay.
is a very he didn't love sweets, and now he love sweets. So yeah, of course, I think it's something both of us have done. Listening to music,
Beautiful.
I do more than he does. So yes, and of course, travel, Mamta, is something we love. We
Both of
always
you.
feel that traveling is actually something that has always supported us in getting fresh ideas. There has never been a case where we haven't traveled and we didn't come up with a better idea. So even getting into airlines, whether samosas, see, our product is something which is across everywhere. So let me tell you a very interesting story. So when we started Samosa Singh, with just the idea that Shikhar had, that samosa is everywhere. Even in south, when we came from north, it was everywhere, and he's like, samosa we should open. Everybody loves it. We need some organized play around samosas, and I think you should pick that product. And we kept thinking about it. Then wherever we would go with our first salaries, we saved the money and we went to a gold class to watch movie. And while we were watching that Hollywood movie, it was Die Hard, by the way. While we were watching that movie, and in a gold multiplex, the first item on the menu was samosas. And we were like, oh my God, even in gold class, a Hollywood movie, you get a samosa. Any nice bakery you go out to, samosa is always going to be a part of the menu. And then anywhere we would travel, be it Air Asia, Jet Airways, or any airline, samosa was offered. I'm talking about pre-COVID, when they would actually offer you proper snacks. So it basically didn't leave us. It was more like samosa everywhere and anywhere we go. And that's when we decided, like, it's enough to get started. Sometimes when the business needed a pivot, that time also while you're traveling, you get fresh ideas, you get fresh opinions, you meet with people of different kinds, you understand that things are all about moving and changing and evolving. So it has always been a very, very instrumental part in driving our business, or how do we go about it, getting some fresh perspective, etc.
But जब आप छोटे थे, it just brings me to a very interesting point since you mapped this journey with samosa. अब समोसे तो हम सबने खाए हैं यार. Samosa has been an integral part of like an evening snacking or somebody coming home and समोसे ले आओ
Correct.
गरम गरम. Did you have the vaguest of the idea ever in life कि ये मेरी life का इतना integral part बन जाएगा कभी?
Yeah. I mean, initially when I started Samosa Singh, and when we had hired some data analytics team, and some MBAs were there, we had certain cooks and some NPD. It was a nice boardroom, and literally we would all be just discussing about samosa flavors and all. Sometimes I laugh at it, thinking I would literally think कि कभी नहीं सोचा था, and that I was studying science and everything, that we could even have a brainstorming session in a fancy boardroom discussing samosa.
Samosa.
So it definitely is something which is, I think it's very much relatable. I mean, think of
Absolutely.
it. Come on, when I told my parents, my friends, my peer, or my sister, or anybody about the idea, and I'm starting samosa, saying nobody felt good about it. They were like, "Yeah, pick a fancy product. What are we going to tell our friends? What are we going to tell everybody? That my friend or my so and so sells samosas. Come on, it's so shameful. It's so attractive, and etc.
Yeah,
etc."
because samosa
So
is so
that's
relatable with like a halwai ka dukaan or like a
it.
next door
Yes.
this thing. So how? I mean, whenever this thought germinated, or it had its genesis in your mind, or was it more of a brainchild of
Shikhar.
Shikhar? Okay, so so when he came up first, what was your reaction?
It was a very, I mean, it was a, I mean, so I was basically, he went on to higher studies in the Institute of Life Sciences. That's a premier institute in University of Hyderabad. All over world, only 8 students get selected. 8. Okay, that's such a elite
Wow.
course. And he was one of them. There were people from all over I mean, all over the world. There were people from different nationalities and everything. And he was the one who was selected, and he even got a stipend. So basically, everything was paid by the government and everything, and he was doing really well there. And I was working in a US-based company, pharma company, taking care of their business development and sales. And one fine day, while everything was just fine, and I get a call from Shikhar, and he's continuously calling me. I was in Gurgaon. I was like, "What's wrong?" I came out of the meeting, and I was like, "What's so important?" He said, "I got an idea what I want to do in life." And I said, "Obviously, you're doing higher studies. You'll be doing something related to science or something." He's like, "I'm going to open samosa shop next to every State Bank of India." And why as State Bank of India? Because that's where he got his stipend from. So whenever he would go to collect his stipend, he would see a big line outside a samosa shop.
Oh,
And he would be like,
wow.
"People need better samosa shops." So that's how the idea came. And of course, my first reaction was, I mean, I didn't even say anything. What is he saying? Did he even mean it? And plus, it would be so difficult for me to convince my dad to any which ways get married to him. We had a intercaste wedding, and now while he's studying, I can still say that he's a scientist. Imagine, what will I say? That, what does he do? He has a samosa shop and he's a halwai. So I immediately said, enough of it. Just focus on your studies, and I just basically I killed the idea.
Oh, okay. So this was in his head even before you
This
guys
was
got
said,
married.
and I killed the idea, but this idea never left him.
Yeah.
It kind of kept coming in between everywhere. And after a few years, I understood that he'll never be happy, and if he doesn't do it. And I also knew the idea is great. I knew that he's the one who can make it happen. All that he needs is my support, and he obviously needs my skill set also in terms of sales and everything to be able to make it happen. So
Super.
eventually, after much contemplation, and it was 6 years, it's not that overnight I agreed or we agreed. After much contemplation, much thought process, we finally, I nodded, okay, let's do that. And the day I said yes, Mamta, the next day he quit the job. The next day, he didn't even give me a day to think about it.
Like
Next day,
rethink about
before
your
I could even wake
decision.
up,
Yeah. Oh my
he
God.
just quit the job. And we didn't even have a brand name at that point in time. It was just an idea, right? With samosas that I will be doing it.
Yeah.
So he quit the job, and I obviously continued to work because we needed one person's salary and everything. We started with a small kitchen, and then after that, there was no looking back. So,
Yeah. And you started out sometime in 2016, right?
yes, so he quit the job a year earlier.
Earlier. So now, from being a snack brand, cloud kitchens, B2B, what's the journey next like? Where do you see Samosa Singh going on the world map, really?
See, the idea again was the same thing, right? That starting with the because we started with our own money, with just the limited funds that we had. So obviously, we started with wherever samosas was already present. We started with multiplexes. We started with airlines, where already there was a demand and they needed more organized play around it. Plus, the idea is just like McDonald's, what they've done for burgers, what Domino's has done for pizza. We want to do the same for samosas. So having a central, consistent quality that goes across is something with which we started. Things were going right in our favor when COVID happened, and obviously the business had to shut, and we immediately had to pivot. So now we are going to continue our expansion pan India. We are going to come to north as well. So Delhi, Gurgaon, my hometown, Karnal, Haryana.
Yippee.
It's not far away. We are also planning to start exports because samosa is one of the most loved product even outside India. So Middle East, North America, Canada, UK. So we're going to start our exports and also have our physical counters or kiosks across the city because that's what people relate to, right? It's an impulse food. It's not something where people will go dine in and
Correct.
kind of a concept. It's neither a product where you'll actually have to think for the whole day and then basically visit. So it's more like an impulse buy. So you need to be on the streets for people to see to you and order. So that's what our game plan is or our idea is.
Absolutely. Wishing you more and more luck on that. And I'm sure we will see more of Samosa Singh now, even up on the streets of Delhi, Gurgaon.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
really waiting for that to happen. So, with that, we are almost towards the end of the show. And here comes a very interesting round, which is called Rapid Reflex Round. In this round, I ask you a volley of questions for which I want your answers in maybe a word or a few words, maybe. So, are
Okay.
you ready for this, Nidhi? You gotta be really,
Okay.
really fast and think on your toes.
Okay.
All right, so take a deep breath and let's get started. Complete this sentence for me. When in doubt, you like to.
Talk.
Never have you ever.
Not enjoyed a moment with Shikhar.
Snacking to you is
Samosas.
your favorite food.
I like Pan Asian food. So my favorite, it depends actually. My favorite food could even be a gulab jamun.
Your life purpose is.
Having fun.
One thing you wish parents never said to their children.
Comparing to other children.
The funniest comment someone has made on you.
I don't have common sense. My sister.
One thing you would like to tell your 20-year-old self.
Don't think too much, just jump on that idea.
Love to you is.
Unconditional.
One thing about South that you miss in North.
The weather, the trees, the greenery,
And one thing about North that you miss in the South.
the weather, and definitely the weather.
All right, with that, you've truly come unbound, Nidhi. And on the parting note, I would just like to say that may our lives be full of celebrations with the samosa from Samosa Singh while you keep building this triangle of happiness for us all. So, thank you for sharing your joy, purpose, vision, and journey with us.
Thank you, Mamta. It was absolute pleasure, and I think we had this discussion at the right time when we were actually looking to unbound. Honestly, this is a time where Shikhar and I take a small break. We go outside. We have our tea, chai there. Not samosas always daily, but sometimes, and kind of unbound. So today my unbounding session was with you and absolutely enjoyed it. Thank
All
you so
right,
much.
cheers to that, your chai and my coffee, and we'll meet you very, very soon over samosa too.